See what happens. And then I'm gonna go over here. I'm on the right account. Productive, please. See, that's what it looks like.
Right now on YouTube?
Yeah, we're on YouTube.
Um,
Hello, YouTube.
it's called Latency Starlight. Alright, this is like, do you know a way to test it?
What do you mean?
The latency?
Oh, you can't do that because that's how streaming works.
Oh,
Yeah.
compare this.
No, that's just how it works because it's like it's sending the packets from here and then it's going to the streaming service and then it goes to the streaming service and then a person connects and then they grab the packets there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hello.
Only 100,000 viewers right now?
100,000 viewers. Yeah, man.
Get those likes up.
Everybody hit that like button even though there's nobody here. No problem.
One asshole happened.
Yeah, just me.
Oh.
Yeah. Ooh, I have an idea real quick because I'm still waiting on Angel. I'm gonna click share. I'm gonna share this to newsfeed. Testing. Yeah.
Good stuff. And so how long does YouTube keep a stream up for?
Forever.
Oh, really?
Forever. You can go as long as you can stand.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, like, is it a different log than
Different log?
like feed separation for streams and how post works? Or?
Oh, no, it's actually a normal post, but
It's just a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. Hello, whoever's here, hello. I don't know. See, there's a number 2. So that means somebody's here, not just me.
Who's that?
But it's always me. We're waiting on Angel at the moment. If Angel decides to show. Do. Hello, whoever's there. I got some marijuanas. This camera sucks, though. It really does.
How many states?
Like, he saw my thing. Why he take forever? Angel. Yo.
It looks like only 12 states at the moment are legal in totality for cannabis. Illinois being one of those oddballs that you would have never expected.
Wait, what's that for?
Completely legal for cannabis.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They got a decriminalization bill going on for federal. Yeah.
Well, look how many states decriminalized it even though they're not legal. These. So that would almost make sense. You'd think if, like, more than half. It was like, fuck it, throw it at the other time.
Yeah. Yo, what up? Okay. Can I make this thing bigger? Oh, cool.
Maybe the bottom.
Hold on. Oh, here we go. Now you can see both of us. Yeah, not much. I don't know if you can tell, but I got it working on a YouTube stream. Yeah, just to test it out, see what happens. Yeah, yeah. How's your day been? All right, dude. This actually not doesn't look too bad. I also now know I got some room to play around with here. This looks dope.
The latency is bad now.
Huh?
It seems like the latency is bad now.
That might be just a little bit.
Test 1, 2, 3. Did it catch the cough? That was
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. About 6 to 8 seconds of latency there. All right. What? Yeah. Yes, his too. I've kind of been going throughout the day.
yeah. I mean, I went throughout the day, took a power nap, and now we're going at it again. As together, nothing. We just met up not so long ago. All right. You just pull it up.
Yeah.
Microphones. I have a couple. Maybe we'll figure out something. We need an interface.
That doesn't work. Yeah.
We just need an interface. So that, because what I have is like professional studio mics, right? But you can't really plug that into a computer. So you need like an interface that can convert all that into USB. Like when it comes to music. Oh, you're a producer, right? Or you know a little bit about music. I feel like if I talk any louder, then it's like talking really loud.
No, you can go ahead and talk. Talk as loud as you want.
Yeah, I don't know. Is there a mic issue? Because I mean, I feel like I'm talking, and you don't hear me very well. Yeah, something might be.
Are you able to turn your volume up on your side, Angel?
Is the mic specific?
You want to switch sides?
We'll try it out.
Yeah. Excuse the technical difficulties.
Alright, so all I was saying was, what was I saying? All this mic stuff got me distracted.
Oh, you're talking about your mic setup.
Oh, you do music, right? So you're familiar with like the digital interfaces for plugging in like instruments and mics and shit, and then you can go to the computer. It's a MIDI interface. Yeah, so if I got one of those, I don't know, they're running like 80, a couple hundred. I'm working on getting one of those. That way, I can take the equipment I already have and use it to kind of maximize this podcasting, or just recording in general. It Right, and I mean, I guess like it's not You hear me good?
Don't.
And then Kyle?
Yeah, can you hear me well? Hello, how's it going?
So it is as if like
Okay, so maybe the mic might be on this side more.
huh. Interesting.
Yeah. We'll have to get like eventually get one of those normal stand mics, and then in his room he's got a full on boom
Yeah,
or
the whole
whatever.
thing, and the only way I can really make all that applicable is with that interface, because anytime you see the ones that put a cord right into the computer, well, that's made for that. You know, it was made specifically for it. I don't know, the thing about the interface and the equipment and everything, it just, you're able to turn anywhere you're at into a studio right then and there. You know, as long as you can power your PC battery. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I work night shifts, and the one piece of advice I got is that like see if you like how the sun affects you. So so when you usually get off 7, so the sun it's probably like rising by then. See, like something that would happen to me, so like because I would like wake up at 8 p.m., work till about 4 or 5 a.m., and so it was just enough time to kind of like wind down and then get in bed before the sun came up. Because what would happen is if that sun came up, it made my whole like brain and feelings think like, oh, got to take the day on, you know. Uh, so I don't know. The sun can kind of do that sometimes.
Yeah. For me, I like to get my second wind, like at the start of that morning if I'm up for 24 hours. If I see that daylight, it like automatically starts triggering other things because basically the sunlight carries other vitamins and minerals through the rays, and so like that starts activating processes in your brain. It's pretty cool, but like that's one of the reasons why like people are more alert, and it's a good thing for like people that are just waking up to go immediately outside for a walk.
But then, what with all that, it's like you'd almost think like, okay, well then maybe I should just be like, yeah, I don't know if I can do that anymore. That's alright. So one of those things like so like the struggle, most of the struggle is like most of the world's working during the day, right? They're and they're sleeping by night, so it seems like most of the world and the things you get to do and the opportunities are going to happen within that time frame. So like what's reserved for the nighttime? Well, there's like roles to play, right? There's like you're doing what, security. It's like, and just that, it's exactly like, I just recently started a night watch program in my neighborhood. And it's like, and Kyle brings it to my attention, like there's got to be that third shift that of those people, and it's like, it kind of comes naturally for most of us, like, and then, you think of it like military or like paramedics or police, they kind of sometimes have to grow accustomed to it, to play that role, to fit that role. And so that's how I find comfort in it, because a society, on a main scale, they usually be like, um, the you gotta the early bird gets the worm kind of philosophy, right? And it's like, well, there's plenty of worms out during the night too. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is unlikely because it's like so much happens just until 2 a.m. with the normal, it's called the 5 to 8 grinders, or the 8 to 5 or 9 to 5, whatever that saying is, right? It's like, even that late time's kind of reserved for some nighttime things, like, and that could still be productive. My struggle is that I like them both. So I love that waking up in the morning and being a part of that experience, waking up to that crack of dawn or whatever and everything. But then I also find a really cool thing in being a part of the night. And so we was just discussing like different ways to run sleep cycles. How like you could still obtain REM, like the most sleep that you need, like a full cycle within 5 hours. Well, it's about recommended 8, right? And so 8 hours goes in 3 times to 24. So you could almost call it 3 shifts, and that's kind of how we run off of, right? And I was thinking, well, what if it was like 5 hours of sleep, run your day, 3 hour nap, run the day, 5 hours of sleep. You get what I'm saying? Because I'm always finding myself wanting to take a nap. And so you could almost like harness that and be able to be a part of. Now when you're doing 5, that fits into 24 damn near 5 times rather than 3. And you're able to kind of fit into different sections. So you can still be the early bird. You can still catch that 3 o'clock meeting. You can still stay up at 4 in the morning and catch that break of dawn experience while still being healthy in your sleep and everything like that. Yeah. Hmm.
Sleep is my nemesis.
No thanks. No thanks.
I can't wait. I want one. I want one, man.
So specifically 5 hours, 3 hour nap, those increments, because or like 6 2 hour nap, which may work even better because here's the deal. When I get 8 hours of sleep, I feel like I got a little too much sleep. It could cause me to feel kind of tired throughout the day. And if I get like 4 hours of sleep, I feel like I didn't get enough sleep. So just finding and no alarms. So you just let your cycle go naturally. So you might wake up anywhere between that 5 hours of sleep to that 6 hours of sleep. You have that breaker at 7 or 8 or whatever your goal is, but like an alarm, but you wouldn't want to disturb that earlier. He kind of brings that attention too. Like you don't want to break the cycle. I'm not saying this is necessarily the way to go, but it's like to me that seems like a natural thing that already happens. Some people are already kind of getting that 5 6 hours of sleep. They take that nap. My dad was that way, and so I'm like, how can you control that and use it to our advantage? I mean, I don't know. We're all up. What
There,
time is it?
there's several different like sleep cycles I was telling him before. The one that I wanted to go on for like the longest time was called the Uberman sleep cycle, where it's like you basically sleep for 30 minutes, but every 2 or 4 hours or something like that, you're awake and then you take a nap. So throughout the day, you only get maybe like 4 hours of sleep, but the rest of the day you got all to do whatever. But then there's like various ones like for he's talking more like I think like a dual sleep cycle. Wait, did you want 2 naps or 3 naps? Two, yeah. So like
just one sleep and one nap.
yeah. So then that would be like considered like one of the like the that would be like similar to like the Hispanics having like their fiesta. No, is it siesta? Siesta for the nap? Yeah. Yeah, like their culture has more of that extra sleeping component, and so I think for us Americans, we don't traditionally think of it that way. We stick in this normal. We go to bed at night and then wake up in the morning, and some people don't realize you could add more to your sleep cycle or change it up. But the only thing is you have to be repetitive. Dang. Yeah. Um, I don't know. Other than that, Howard, yeah, I don't even know at the moment. I'm a bit high. Not gonna lie.
Uh, I guess. Wait, wasn't
Oh,
a lot of that though? So it all comes down to kind of like that illusion of commitment, right? Because it's like, because I was thinking about bringing this up a second ago, and it was kind of like on the idea that like, cause like traditionally we as Americans we don't necessarily put multiple sleeps in our day or something. It's like we just kind of like run the day, and so part of that to me is like, well, it's kind of been designed that way, especially for max productivity for, amongst the man for the corporate product kind of thing. And then like I also see it like, okay, so you're committed to busting those hours and just running the day, but then there's also that kind of like commitment for your own cause, kind of like what we're doing. So it's like not only running the 9 to 5, but also keep going so that we can like climb our way out, So because like most of the work you're making enough just to put the gas and pay the rent, to be able to get to work the next day. It's like so you got to put in this like you got to keep going, and but it feels good to take the nap. It's like today I was going pretty hard doing things, and then before I came over here, I took that little nap, get that little power, that rejuvenating. Yeah, only half an hour. That's all it takes.
yeah. Mm. Yeah. So I think I need to follow something like that a little bit more, just because right now I always keep on thinking, I gotta finish this thing, I gotta finish this thing, and then I stay up even more, I stay up even more, and then the next thing I know, I've been up for like 48 hours, and I'm like, oh,
There's got to be a balance for sure. I think that's probably a must. So there's probably a balance between like treating yourself almost like in that comfortable region of like I need to sleep, because I find myself there a lot, like putting myself in that real comfortable region, like, oh, today was such a hard day, and I'm like thinking about it, and I'm like, I didn't do anything today. It's like I'm just like I'm just being a little comfortable about it. But then there's, Kyle over here, like, oh, 48 hours later, and it's like he probably surpassed that point where it was even efficient, like where it's just like, oh, maybe he could have, with a little bit of sleep, he could have had better energy towards that task or something.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
no shame.
Sleep. I mean, a lot of high performing people are up on that kind of sleep cycle. You.
I'd like to think most of today's lifestyles have a very demanding, um, you need like a couple more slots in your day. It's like there's just, I mean, you hear it all the time. There's not enough time in the day, and it's just really there ain't. Once you like, I mean, some days it's like, oh, the day's going by slow. Some days it's like, oh, just depending on what you gotta, cook up. But like, um, I don't know, kind of forgot what I was saying, but that happens often.
Well, I can take that thought and kind of segue it into
There
another
you go.
thing. So how you were talking about with like the sleep kind of starts affecting some of the things that you're doing throughout the day, maybe such as productivity. Uh, I think one of our main things that we wanted to talk about for this thing was kind of the accountability aspect. So people lose the thoughts of accountability as they get more and tired and tired and tired, and so they're just like, yeah, I'm not going to be accountable. I'm going to keep on doing some stupid thing right now because I'm not sleeping well. Yup. So, did you guys have anything on accountability that you guys wanted to talk about?
Accountability, it's like such a versatile concept term,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, I knew that was just like we were trying to figure out what we wanted to talk about for this. So,
And if you're aware of it, you almost lose respect for yourself, right? Now, that's just where I'm seeing it. So you kind of put it in, a new perspective for me because I'm always using this word. Like I probably overuse it at this point. I gotta go through the dictionary and figure out some like syllables or synonyms,
mhm.
because it's like I'm just overusing it because like I'm seeing more and more and more of reasons to use the fucking word because like um just this let's just say from January alone this year 2020 with coronavirus and everything, we're seeing this pile up on the highway of like why we should be meeting our own needs, like why we should be growing our own food and providing our own electricity and you just all these things that it's like their responsibilities, and the way you say it is when you are accountable for those responsibilities, kind of thing, right? And it's like because we see a lot of people that are just not taking accountability for these responsibilities. They're just kind of, and there's a balance between it because most of us are just born in it, but then there's a point you're in the crossroads and you're aware of it. All right, so what can you do with it? So that all our products are being packaged in plastic, right? Why can't we move towards something where it's not like that? Or if we are, what are you doing with that plastic when it gets in your kitchen? You throwing it away? You recycling it? Do you know what's happened to it after it's recycled? You know, I know in Lake County, out by us, our recycling program only recycles 40% of what they pick up on our curbside. So you think you're making a difference by putting it in that yellow container, the recycling container, but really it's just being thrown away as trash. So it's like you kind of got to take responsibility for that. This is your planet kind of thing. And so how can you repurpose this sour cream bowl, into a new cereal bowl, and now you're not paying for a new set of kitchen bowls, down the line somewhere, and it's kind of like this domino effect, right? I don't know, and so just there alone, it's like taking accountability. It's going to meet your own needs, and what happens when you don't meet your own needs and you're dependent on things like Walmart and fucking all this corporate bullshit? Well, one day you wake up and there's a curfew, and now Walmart's not 24 hours anymore. It's only open from a small window. They're speaking over the intercom. We're limited on this amount that you can buy today. Sounds like we're in China right now, like in a communist type of socialism type thing. And nobody will, right? So that's why I'm so optimistic for change right now. I don't see us just kind of going back to normal. If we did, it'd be pretty heartbreaking, and it'd probably be the last time that we ever go back to normal because there's already so many people aware of the changes that need to like happen, and I guess it's just like, how do we get more people aware of these changes that need to happen, and it's like, what is it, 2050? We have to be 0% waste planet. That's the goal. We have to be. Why? It's not really propaganda. It's more like, do you see what's happening? We have two new islands in the middle of both of our major oceans, getting bigger and bigger each year. Just garbage. Yeah, yeah. Look into that. Like right deep where all of our what do you call them, currents, where they meet up in the ocean. It makes a swirl. And so right there's these islands growing of garbage. And that comes, I'm not trying to make digs at China tonight, but China, they have these reservations for garbage because they don't have room to put it in the ground. So they have these reservations that eventually they get put on a boat, move somewhere else across the world. Maybe they shoot it out into space. I'm just kidding. But like, at the end of the day, the stuff actually blows off the top and goes right into the ocean. And they don't have the type of regulations like some countries do that are like, whoa, that's bad. Don't do that. It's just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where I see that most like applicable in me is like, so 3 days ago, I fell, knocked myself out, probably fractured something in my knee, sprained my ankle, and like everything else. Most people would go to a doctor, right? And it's just like, it's kind of like in my, not necessarily like my ego, but I do kind of have this like, I just ain't going to the doctor almost thing. Like, and it's because like when I go to the doctor, I usually teach them something. This is the last time I was at the doctor. What they told me, instead of saying like this is what's wrong, they're like, you seem to be really in tune with your body, and I'm like what? Like, aren't you? You're a doctor. You'd think like since you focus on the body, you're focusing on your own body. You don't feel the things that I express the way I'm articulating it. Like you've never had that. And it's like, no, you're just sensitive. And I'm like, sensitive? It's like, fine, maybe I am. Maybe I am a little more self aware of kind of the things that happen in my body. But that's kind of like, I use that. That's why I'm accountable in my health. It's like, okay, so, some people pop an aspirin when they have a headache. Me, I don't take anything, I maybe smoke a joint. It's like, uh, I don't know where's some of the major things. Diet, right? Like some people are online just going, and then they end up on keto. I'm like, just feel for it, feel your body and like feel what's making you feel better. Listen to your body, there's this dependency, that's another thing that kind of like on the healthcare system today.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because then you can't really do anything. You're just sitting there going, what's my next thing? You tell me what I gotta do, please. That's no, that there's no.
You almost see this pattern of sheep and wolves. God, for real, Um, it's like you see everyone mad, but they don't know why they're mad, you know? And then it's like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be the protests or the riots. It's just, I say everybody in general, like, that have been exposed to some kind of corruption, are mad or upset, want change, somewhere in that area. And then, yeah,
Everyone's gotta find something to blame. Well, see, I was thinking of just doing it yourself instead of like looking for a nonprofit. Just start doing it yourself.
but some projects are so big, right? And like just that in general, what you said, that's a thing already. It's the Eisenhower system or something, I think, or not, I forget. But in Illinois specifically, each road or segment of road has an association behind it, and it's called oh, I forget what it's called, but it's dedicated to picking up the trash. Oh, Adopt a Highway. Okay, and so you adopt a segment of a highway, and it's like the Lions Club, the Masons, a school district, the jails. They all have a certain section of roads, and they go out there for free of a service, like a duty to your community to clean those roads, and that's all throughout Illinois. Ah,
I thought you could buy a chunk and name it.
which for guerrilla marketing, that'd be really cool. Productiveplace.com, adopted by. It's like, yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
Like, your name's not on this. Yeah, it is right there.
literally. Well, for me, not to be negative, but or to bring the negatives in, but immediately you're thinking suburban, and not just suburban, but very condensed suburban. So there's heavy restrictions and regulations. Do you even have soil to plant a tree? Are you in the concrete jungle? Like, you get what I'm saying? And it's like, so like just there alone, and then of course you're gonna find on Pinterest and Google a lot of these DIY things, how to like tackle that. But it's like, do you even have the ambition to do that? It's like at that point you're in the hood. Are you trying to make this place better, the best of it, or are you just trying to get out? Because that's usually the deal, right? Like, just get out of this slump type of thing. And but right now, like, I think we're all in a slump, no matter like what your hood looks like. It's like we're all like, I don't even care. Like, if there's trash in my ditch right now, I mean, me, yeah, I'm gonna go pick it up. But it's like, like, fuck it. That's kind of everyone you see, and they throw the trash out into my ditch. Like, fuck it, I don't care. Yeah.
I was I was saying with that one of the cool things is you can lead by inspiration. So most people think like, okay, you can lead by inspiration. So, like, sometimes people will be like, well, I don't want to go do that, right? So, you take the initiative and you go ahead and do it, and other people see you, and then they'll most likely, it'll just at least add in a little bit more positive reinforcement for them to, like, maybe want to go for it and start to ripple.
Sometimes, and then sometimes, it's like, okay, well, I've done that same thing. Let's just say, like, my cousin, she's younger than me, all right. She's like, go do this for me. If I were to do that for her, then she's gonna be easier for her to ask next. She's gonna expect me to do it, and then she's gonna the dependency thing. So it's like, where do we find the balance in just that, right? Because it's like, obviously, there's a lot of roles where people were like, saw a lack of people taking initiative to play that role, so that's why they decided to play that role. Well, now they're just kind of stuck with it. They're like, like, ain't anybody gonna take this initiative? You know, it's like,
Mm.
yeah,
You know, um,
yeah. No, I understand. Or like, I don't know, gullible maybe, or no, moldable. It's usually like when you're in any industry on the business side of things, they're looking for one thing when they're networking or like recruiting, and they're looking, are you teachable? You know, and that's like, are you willing to break down some of your habits to create new habits? Are you willing to, you know, can I, if I tell you something, are you listening? You know, or are you arguing? You know, and it's like, I've always been seen as an arguer, you know, but that doesn't mean I'm arguing. I'm actually asking more questions, you know, so it's like unrelated. But, yeah, if you catch my drift.
mm, yeah,
There's a lot of psychological studies that support that, you know, I mean, but then it's like, but that doesn't always have to be fact, right? Like there's ways where it's like, yeah, because I'm sure there's some things you do, you know, that's like, that's what it is. Sometimes it's, yeah, I don't see it right now so much, but like, you know, you still see it where it's like some people want to be different. They want to stand out, you know, and be their unique, or just you be unique, you know, that's probably the better way to say it. You know.
oh yeah, gotta get that instant likes.
I think though a lot of that, every time I see that, I think like that person probably doesn't want to be obligated to get involved, especially with the the judging system that we have in place now, the judgment of like interacting with a situation like that. It's like at this point, if you got involved, you could be held accountable for your actions by the, you know, and that could mean, you know, getting in trouble with the law for just trying to help somebody or like doing the right thing. Mm.
Cool. Ooh. Dang. Oh, it's fun to watch other people and their drama. We don't want to reflect on our own, so it's easier to escape into someone else's.
And a lot of times we're just being observant, right? You're just kind of observing the behaviors of others. But
No, they're actively wanting to watch, like not just observing. They're like excited for it.
I guess I was speaking from, I guess, my own point of view. Um, I don't know. That's kind of an interesting thing. You see, you take some accountability to make sure. You definitely do. What needs to be done. And, I mean, it just how many cars were looking at that, might even saw that it was a person, but then just kept driving like, oh shit, not my fault, right? I don't know. I feel like I've been that guy anytime I've been on the highway. You know, I'm kind of talking about like how you took action in that situation where like, yeah, right. Especially in the city settings you hear these days is, there's gang initiations and stuff like that. That could be some kind of setup to get robbed or something. You never know. Yeah.
Scammers too. Um, expectations. Yeah, I almost remembered it. Um, oh yeah, fear is you gotta tame that one. Otherwise it's gonna ride you instead.
I mean, really though, I just take the one that still hits me today. I'm not gonna lie. 21 years old. The concept of the dark still gets to me. It's always changed though. Like like when you're really young, monsters under the bed, right? And as you get older, it's just really like like what's there. Like you never know. You're now more aware of all the bad in the world. Maybe that's in the dark right now. You can't see it, and so I guess it could appear real, especially if you're an imagery, if you project imagery, through your thought process, like directly. Because whatever you think of, it's like that episode in Ghostbusters where he's like, don't think of anything, and then he thinks of something, and then that white thing starts walking through the city, and it's like, don't think of cats. You ever seen that? No. Okay. It's a meme, But anyways, I don't know. I work through that almost all the time, and it's now I'm starting to think of it. It's like you're out of control in a situation, so that's usually the core in anything is the control aspect, and so like really. That's probably what most of fear is where you're losing control in a situation. Um, I say where fear is most present uh, is with suspense. So when you know something's coming, but like when, or like what is it and when, you know. I also like to think that fear. I don't even really see. I don't see like fear the way I saw it at one point in my life anymore. Like, what am I scared of? Like now, I'm like, what am I scared of? It's like there really isn't anything that I'm scared of. But then it's like fears, and it comes in levels for people, man. Because like I think of some people in my family, they're just scared of everything. But what am I scared of? Really, nothing. Scared of myself at this point. Like of my control. So where I once lacked control of even things where I could have been in control in, now it's like I'm so in control. What am I gonna do in this awareness? It's like you almost gotta be responsible with that kind of power. I don't want to really say power, but it is power within yourself. Like to have control of just almost every aspect of you.
I'm gonna take that one. Wow. So a lot of times people don't know how to obtain power, and you just said the critical key: more self-awareness. Yeah, because once you know, knowing is everything.
I'll take that, and I'm gonna jump in because I said crossroads earlier.
Hey, are you there, by the way,
Angel? I think we lost him. This might be a good time to pause. Can you write down crossroads?
Crossroads.
Did you stop recording maybe for a second? Or do you not want to do that?
We'll take a brief moment here. Oh, we can go out there.
That's not bad.
Huh? Oh. All right. Let's see. Angel. Blah, 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 blah. Hello, everybody. Blah, blah, blah. Whoa. And I'm back at least. Hello. I see we got a person here. Heart. Hello. Waiting on our other partner here. Anywho. So we got some pretty cool stuff to talk about. Garbage Island. I like that. I think I've heard that once with How I Met Your Mother. There's like a episode in there. Trying to see what's up with my connection. Oh. Non-profit cleanups. We could talk about Adopt a Highway as a topic sometime. Crossroads. What do you want with the Crossroads?
Okay, I'd like to touch on the Crossroads thing, especially when Angel gets back. Really, it was just for anybody who wasn't here a second ago, we was talking about accountability, and I get we're gonna what I want to focus on about the Crossroads is like when you become aware of something, you know, and you get in that intersection. No matter what you do, you're making a decision. You know, even if you freeze, you know, even if you were to stay in that intersection, you know, and the Crossroads is the concept where you become enlightened of the subject, you know, so, you know, it's wrong, you know, so what's your choice now? You know, it's like, do you still do that wrong thing? Do you not do that wrong thing? Do you compromise? Do you freeze? You know, and so that's the Crossroads, and that's where you're able to take judgment on your own accountability. I think the most is when you're actually aware of it.
Yeah.
You know, there's kind of that one get out of jail free card for yourself where it was like, wasn't aware of it. It doesn't work in things like the judicial system. You know, they hold you pretty upfront accountable. You should know your laws. You should know the millions of pages of laws by heart. You know, you should have known. You know, you don't really get that leeway. But you get that leeway with yourself, but it's got to be authentic. You know, you may not have been aware of how this decision was going to affect someone, but now you're in the crossroads of that. You're aware. So now the next time you do it, it's like, you know, you're aware, and that's how you're able to kind of judge yourself based off your opinion. It's not to say sometimes that compromise. It's that gray area. It's like, well, I know this is going to affect people, but if I don't do it, it might affect more people.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. So it's just an important area.
Angel. You know, one of the segues I was thinking about with the accountability thing was, so you kind of had the self, what's the word, self-sufficiency type of thing going on with, like, you know, doing what you need to do to kind of survive. And then Angel's idea for the accountability was a lot in the health aspect. And I was like, well, then mine could be more, because I've been more focused on this whole crypto stuff, and so mine is maybe on the wealth aspect.
Like, okay, so we're kind of looking at, and you know, you say survival, you know, it's almost like I see that each one goes into that as if it was a cycle. You know, so you got financial, you got health, and then you have just needs, consumption, right? And it's like all three of those things. Well, right now where we're at, financial has to meet some of those needs. Right now we're kind of at where some of those needs run into, what was Angel? Health.
Yeah.
You know, it's like some of those needs are actual health needs, so they all integrate together for sure. I guess, and my overall goal, and I think everyone's goal, is how do we kind of get away from having to depend on financial to meet all our needs? How can we, just do, some simple things on the sufficiency. We just as much as meeting your own power, cooking food off of a fire, heating your house from that same fire, solar, whatever it is, right? Growing a garden kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes you don't have to have so much money.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the money though is the financial thing is it's not so much of like breaking free from that system, but like on certain aspects of it, making it more efficient for you in the long run. So you need money in order to start setting up some of these things depending on where you're at. If you're lucky enough, you can go and be able to scavenge everything up for free without or low cost. But not everybody is in that predicament, you know?
Sure.
So then they're forced to go out and buy these things. And so they're going to have to figure out how do I allocate these funds in order to start getting into the spots of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm thinking, it's not so much eliminating it, but figuring out a harmony. Because at the end of the day, to me, it's too idealistic.
Yeah. And so the transition would be very hairy, that'd be the challenging part in general. It's almost like double the work to transition because you got to do what the present system already kind of allows, and then you're also trying to create like a new system for yourself or to live in or something, right? And well, a lot of the things that I bring up really don't take, just some of those things I brought up just now, they don't take too much money to start, as long as you can source some wood, you can build a fire, and with fire you can clean water, you can cook food, you can put heat in your house, you can provide hot water, you can make electricity off the energy that kind of comes off the heat of a fire. And so to me, that's like you almost hit everything just in your household as far as power goes. And then you're not even using some of that power because you're going towards more of a primitive thing. There's ways to do it that you don't have to be like caveman about it. You don't have to be like Bear Grylls in the woods or something. It's kind of like how do we apply maybe like an advanced primitive on some of these methods.
To me, depending, let's see what the table says. I'm replaying the stream. I love it, but my volume is low. I noticed. Oh, speak up. I don't know, maybe if I turn his thing over like this, maybe. But kind of what I was thinking is like, it's too of an idealistic notion to kind of move everything over that way, because once you do that, you basically said that this way is the only way, and all humans are all different. So they have to have different ones. So like, for example, there's going to be a huge subclass of people right now that need what you're talking about because they don't have it. So then, therefore, you build that system up for those people. But there's going to be a subset of people like myself who are more like, I'm more on the convenience side.
Right, and I'm talking about keeping it convenient, and that's why I said it doesn't have to be so much like that caveman aspect. So yeah, we're talking like really. So you're thinking, okay, maybe applicable for really low income, like make under 30,000 a year type thing, and can't even afford to make changes in the house. You literally got to resort to this kind of practice or like a way to meet your needs. But I'm thinking, just off of a combined household that makes 100,000 a year, 120,000 a year. I mean, it's your average. The set of parents with a couple kids, 3-bedroom house, small backyard, 2 vehicles type thing, and these things can look good, and they can still be just as, let's say, what was the word you were saying?
Or idealistic?
No, you were just saying it would be most. I'm just looking for the word convenient. It would,
Yeah.
Okay, and so it's like, well, the convenient part or the inconvenient part would probably be like making these new systems, right? Like, so right now you already kind of have heat and air in the house. You already have a way to get electricity. You already wake up and go to your work. So the inconvenient part would be the change, and it would be the transition, and be making these new processes. But in the end, I see them being all just as convenient. You know, you still have a pretty orthodox looking kitchen, just running off of what's considered unorthodox ways to get these, to get it done, to get those energy sources there, right? And I don't know. I guess, like, to me, here's one. I noticed when the coronavirus had first happened, water was something that was pretty slim here in the Lake County area. And so immediately what I wanted to do was, okay, well, how can I collect my own rainwater? And it turns out to be stupid cheap, stupid easy, and it's just water. You know, some people might think, well, you know, it's cleaner because it's in the bottle. Or something. But to me, you know, it took chemicals, or it took reverse osmosis, or it took taking out the minerals of the water to kind of get that product, or chlorine or something to get this bottled thing. And let alone the bottle, you know, I mean, what the bottles, the waste is doing. So if you just had a way to get your own water, you're getting free water. It's a healthier version, you know. You don't have to produce as much waste. You can use the same bottle or the jug or cup. And it comes down to you need to collect your rainwater, so you got to harvest it. So you can pull it off of, and the more surface area you have to collect the rainwater, the better, the more water you're going to get. So you start with your roof, and then you make it to where the gutters collect it in a tank.
Yeah.
And then it's all about filtration. Well, you got to filter it to a point where everything's going to be safe. You know, and in order to make it safe, it only takes a couple things. You need some grass, a couple big rocks, some small rocks, pebbles, sand, and then last charcoal. Like the same kind of charcoal that you get from your bonfire when you make a bonfire. You know, and there's a certain point that it gets this black. It almost looks like the wood, but you could break it. It's got that charred all the way to the inside. That's what you want, that consistency. So you do this in layers, an equal distributed amount of layers, and the water runs through that. And then the end product is so safe to drink, it's unbelievable. And that's it. That's the idea of...
So how long does it have to sit in this kind of like filtration thing?
No, it's immediate. So it runs through. So as long as you have an area to harvest it, you know, then you have that collection of water at all times. And then when you want to drink it, you can filter it. And then let's say you have a smaller system to kind of hold that cleaner water.
Yeah.
That way, you know, for convenience sake, you always have clean water dispensed still throughout your home. You know, you don't have to go all caveman outside and drink from your hands. You know, this can still be integrated in a home system.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's like, boom, no water bill for the rest of your life. That's it. You know, and so a place like Nevada, this might not work. But there's wells, ground wells, something that is used today still. But the problem I'm seeing with ground wells is pollution alone, and things like fracking, the process of getting oil. It's like a way of getting oil, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just that alone is contaminating our water supply underground. And so maybe we need to move away from underground water and take that natural clean-ish water that's coming from the rain.
What's up?
You know,
Not much. Welcome back. How what? Sounding okay, I think. Yeah, I'll turn that a little bit down there.
you sound a little louder. Yeah.
I mean, I did turn my volume up, and I wonder if it's like I don't know if OBS is picking it like the audio from my computer, or if it's picking it the audio just from the mic. So really, oh dang. See, I was hoping someone would like say something in chat, but no one said anything in the chat. Yeah, but yeah, I now know like there's this little box. Like, hold on, see if I can pull it up. So like, there's like this downward where you like your like the two cameras are. In that middle space though, on the top and bottom, I can add some more stuff to it, like a texture or something. But but I would need to make it so like I really need like a second monitor, so either I could switch it over to the other thing and then switch out frames. So like let's just say hypothetically, because you weren't here for a little bit, so we were having a conversation to our now we got 4 people. Hello, 4 people. Heart. But yeah, so like I tell them like I saw these people in here, and I'm like, well, we should still like still have a conversation, not leave it stale. So he was talking about collecting rainwater and stuff.
Yeah, and then we had touched on Crossroads. Basically, when you had disconnected, I was.
Oh, really? Oh, right before you disconnected.
Yeah, right before you disconnected, I was about to cap up kind of our whole conversation. Or not the whole thing, but kind of like on the end of accountability, right? And it was like, all right, so to take initiative and to take action, you kind of have to do what? You have to make a decision, right? And so, what's that mechanism in yourself that judges that the actions, right? And I guess that's where that term crossroads comes from, right? So the crossroads is the concept where you're fully aware of that subject of kind of like whatever you're aware of. You're there, and the crossroads represent you have just hit the intersection, and no matter what you do from here, you're making a choice. Even if you freeze, right? You stay in that intersection, you're making a choice. And so it's like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Or are we like a compromise in between? And so to me, the biggest thing to look at is like what, like, you're aware of the subject or you're not. So say you're not, well, you learn that, and then now you are aware, right? So you're able to use that. And I kind of brought it up earlier, like it's not a get out of jail free card, but that's like, that's reasonable to be like, well, I didn't know that was going to affect people like that since I did that, and it's like, but now you know. And then I guess when I'm speaking on the gray area things, it's like, well, sometimes you got to make a decision, right? That it might affect people, but then not doing it might affect more people, right? So it's like it's your self judgment mechanism, for your actions, the crossroads. A lot of times where we hear it most is like selling your soul, or like where you met the devil. Because sometimes like in the things of like sin, people are like they're in the crossroads of that, that, yeah, temptation almost, right? And it's like no matter what you do from here, you're making a choice, and so I think, I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that? I mean, kind of open to it now, or?
Not so much on the crosswords, except for like You kind of, yeah, no, not so much in the crossroads, because that was kind of where like your idea.
Have you heard that saying, the crossroads?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just never thought about it in terms of like accountability aspects.
Sure.
So that's why I was like,
you have any thoughts on that? Yeah.
yeah. One of the segues, like, so that we had, so he had kind of more of like a survival type of thing for accountability. You know, was that self sufficiency? You know, dependent on not on the corporations, but on your own self and on the land type of thing. And then yours was a lot more on like the health aspect. You know, taking care of yourself and your health and your well being. And then for me, at the moment, the thing has been around, I guess, wealth. It's financial security and financial freedom type of things. Just because I know that in order to get some of these other areas achieved, it's easier if you can relieve yourself uh, with using finances. So a lot of times people see it as like a negative thing, where I see it as like you could use it to help buy time or other utilities to help you out in your journey. So for me at the moment, the accountability has been around how am I budgeting, how am I restricting myself from certain things so I don't overspend. What am I spending on? Can I cut some of this stuff out? Am I saving? Am I paying myself? Am I investing? Um, how are my bills? Am I prepaying ahead in my bills and stuff like that? And then what kind of shortcuts can I take? So sometimes it's like some of these paths that we have here where you guys are talking about. You could utilize those to help cut the corners for the financial stuff. So like, for example, diets can be fairly expensive depending on which kind of diet you're going for. However, you can add in things like intermittent fasting, where you decrease the amount of times you actually have to have the consumption of that food, so then it maybe decreases the cost. So I like thinking things like that because uh, yeah, and then because for me, most of my life, I feel like I haven't been accountable like on that front. Like um, I feel like every time I get somewhere, I mess up my funds or whatever, and or something out of the blue comes in and it just tackles me, and I'm like, oh man. So, but I've never have like a nest egg. I don't have nothing, and so now 2020 has basically taught me I am preparing for myself and my future, and so I am going to be very, very, very low at what I spend and stuff like that. I'm just gonna cut as many corners and just put that into investing, and yeah, because crypto, everybody get on that crypto train. This,
I mean, it's like the train's going, whether you get on it or not. So it's like, what was that term you used with me the other day? It's like, if you can't beat them, join them, And so it's like, so I'm a financial professional, right? I was once a financial advisor. I kind of had a slot open to be able to have a independent business in the industry. And,
quick side note: we are not financial advisors, even though we talk about financial stuff. Just legal disclaimer.
right, it's like, well, I kind of gave up on the whole idea. I kind of was going balls to the wall when it came to how you could be the best entrepreneur possible, like going on that path, being surrounded by the right people, the right programs, the right resources, and of course, most important, probably the knowledge, right? And so, but then with that knowledge, with being in the crossroads, with critical thinking, did we lose him again? Oh, it just froze. All right. With critical yeah. With considering critical thinking, remind me where we were just at. What's the main concept? What are we talking
about? Accountability. Oh,
just a second ago, what we were talking about. Critical thought inside of. Right. So I'm kind of talking how I was a financial advisor. I had my own business. I had a slot open to kind of take that on. Well, with a lot of critical thought, it was like, nope, I don't believe in it. I don't believe in the system. And with everything, I don't believe in the judicial system. I don't believe in how the commerce system is going on way about it. The overall, it's just like, no. And I fell in that rabbit hole of kind of becoming aware of certain aspects of life and things, everything's not as it seems, and it was like, all right, well, and then where do I find my place coming back in? It's like, Kyle kind of brings it to my attention. It's like, if you can't beat them, join them. And it's like, well, you can almost use certain tools as a part of the transition. Cryptocurrency, digital currency, just that whole concept alone is definitely one of those tools for this transition, to kind of take control inside of
what's going on.
Yeah, and just finances in general, right? And
I like that because it is a little bit more of the way, because I hate doing it, but it's just kind of like who I am, I guess. But it's like I'm kind of bashing the thing of like it being too idealistic for like the way that you want it to go for. But like this system here with like crypto is a perfect transition segue into a system where it works out for your thing. Because here it's like it's in crypto land, it's no longer the same traditional financial highways that are restricting everybody to begin with.
It's not just one printer.
Yeah.
It's not just one law.
And a lot of it is also all more community based. So, it's like you can't take that away from them.
And it's focusing on the movement of decentralization, which is probably the best way we're going to get to what we're kind of talking about here, with this change. What's the goal? There's probably a couple ways to break it down: short term, mid term, long term, right? So short term, it's kind of easy for me. It's how can we just kind of take some traction right now with how things are just evolving so rapidly, and then of course the midterms, the transition to long term, I don't.
Oh, you're good. Yeah, I noticed that too. Uh, I'll have to take a look into the settings for that.
So real quick to cap it up, long term, I'd like to think of it not so much as 100%. You know, it's not like you don't have to meet 100% of that expectation. You know, it's like as long term, where would it be reasonable to be heading towards? Where would it be kind of nice to be sitting? Because like, you know, it would really suck to make this like goal and then to never hit it. You know, and because it's never practical that way. You know, especially on the long term side of things, it's, you know, kind of just life in general. You know, you got this one life to live kind of thing, and some people live this like a journey. Like there's an end product, like in this in the world. You know, it's just work alone. People kind of work till they're 60 to get to the retirement part, and it's like you only got a couple years left. You know, it's like for some people, and it's like, you know, where were you enjoying life on the ends? And so it's kind of like, so I see it relative to the short term and the midterm on this. You know, it's like you try to make the best of it, best of the experience, still be able to enjoy life, but kind of make some of these sacrifices to set pave stones for the youth. And that's the one thing that we kind of left out of this whole conversation, I think, is probably like the youth aspect of kind of all this change. You know, it's like focusing on just people like our age and younger where they're more moldable. You know, you brought that up earlier, right? It's like that's where we're going to be able to kind of make big impact is with the younger generations. They're not so set in their ways and they're completely open to new process. Um, yeah, crypto, man.
Crypto. You said you said you got some. You Angel, you said that you had gotten something in Coinbase today. Did you put something in Coinbase today? I know, but I thought you sent me a message like you're doing something with Coinbase. Like, did you deposit money yet into XRP? Mm, nice. Oh, wait, at 17 cents? Oh, hell yeah.
Oh wow.
So, yeah.
I'd say that like right now, like I don't know, like I'm looking at the quarter amount, and we saw it kind of go low for a second, but I don't think it's gonna. Like personally, I don't see it going back to no 17, or if it does, it might be like real quick and then it'll correct, or like, you know. But like right now, I think quarter is the lowest we're gonna get again. You know, maybe I think you're gonna start seeing this gradual increase. You know, like to where it's like 38 cents here in a couple weeks or something. You know, it's like, damn, maybe I should have bought at a quarter.
I see it going up to like 30. Shout out. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We're gonna have to fix that up. Nice. Yeah. Saying to him one time, I'm thinking about getting some Bluetooth headsets because, like, if we do like outside recording or whatever, it just makes it a little bit easier.
We noticed one time that on a bike, it was a really productive place to talk about like or to do a podcast recording. Like there was one, like I was like, damn, I was starting to like talk about some stuff on this bike ride, and it was like, man, if only we both could record right now, you know, and that would be a cool way to do it. The Bluetooth, and go on a fucking half-hour bike ride and record.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Still figuring all the little kinks out. So
Yeah, I guess the important thing is that we're just doing it because oftentimes people create like an excuse, like, oh, we need that mic, we need this for the professional quality that. Yeah.
just go. Yeah. Yeah.
And I guess that's what we get to do in this time is kind of set a new standard for perfection. But, like right now, it seems that like the standard for perfection is perfection. It's like everything's got to be perfect. But it's like there's this class in vintage records when you get a skip, or like when you're listening to a song made off of 8-track. The spinning wheels that would actually like record it in that film tape on a it's like you hear it, you can hear it all scratching and stuff, and it's like there's a certain character that you think a lot of the music you hear from the Beatles, all that's coming from that kind of old recording stuff. And there's some appreciation and character in that, and it's just like this. It's like it in art especially. It's like actual physical visual art. People are starting to find that look again into the not so perfect. Yeah, something about it, right? Yeah, and it's almost natural. No tree is perfectly symmetrical. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess like okay, so we're all kind of growing up into this, and there's a new generation, the most recent, that are really born into it. But like, I guess for any of our age, it was like we were a part of a lifetime without it, and then kind of integrate into a lifestyle with it. We get to see both sides. But I'm thinking, what do we get to tell the youngest ones now to kind of like break them free from that? And it's kind of like, um, I guess when I was growing up with it, it felt like a portfolio. It felt like a really efficient way to display my brain. You know what I mean? But then it was also really oppressive, and because of the judgment that came with it and how it was like publicly displayed, and it felt like, well, everyone else is building this portfolio, I got to build mine stronger to pop out. I got to build my, even if I was being like authentic, like that was kind of usually my aim. I'm gonna be most authentic, but you still kind of like starve for more to be seen, to be heard. I mean, I guess like not for the pointless reason, not like because I want to, but because I actually might have had something to say. At a younger age, I was putting input on Facebook about politics and this and that, but I quickly realized that's not the place to do it. Text messages are like one-way conversations, and plus you don't really understand the context of how that person's saying it. You know, it's not as open and quick to, we're conversating. We're able to engage and talk about it easily. On a text, you really can't do that. And so in the pictures, I think are the most important aspect. It's this image you represent online for everyone to see at all times. And I already have a problem with pictures alone, uh, because they don't really represent the true value of what you look like. Like a picture never looks like you. Like it really don't. You look at it, you're like, that's me. Like or like during that exact time. And I don't know. So to me, it's almost like a disease. TikTok right now, like anybody 15 and under is doing this, like with their hands. And it's something like these TikTok moves, and all the kids are doing it. And I'm like, look how like impactful that is. Like every kid does it.
Yeah, I still do that. Yeah.
Mm.
How cool.
So, being aware of these things and everything, like how like there's some of these not so good things in some of the ways we're doing things today. There is some corruption. There is there's one thing that a lot of people can come to terms with and agree on right now, and that there is a need for change. Now, the amount that each individual worries on the things that are out of their control is out of my control. Like, you get what I'm saying? And it's out of their control, and it's kind of their worry. And so a lot of times, that's all Facebook is becoming, just a place to put your worry. And sometimes it's like, look at us. We're talking about taking accountability, action, and making change. But what are we doing? We're just kind of like circle jerking, putting ideas out on the table. So where's the action? Where's the actual accountability? Where's the right now? Do something, make an impact, domino effect. Tomorrow's a better world. Because and so to kind of like summarize all this and cap it up, it's like really we're in a big time of change. We're in a movement. Like we're in a real revolution, not the kind that's got to be created with propaganda, the one that's recognized. And the one thing we all agree on right now, no matter what, is that we need change, right? So we just started integrating ways, and right now I say the train that's moving. We just kind of brought it up earlier with cryptocurrency. This decentralization. And so we get to take all these good aspects out of these things that are already here today. So what did social media do? What did the internet do? It brought us together. Like we are all now connected across this whole world. That allowed us to become a very greater conscious resistance. You know what I mean? All integrated on perspective now, especially with all these videos like this all over the world and seeing that. It's like, it used to be village to village, you didn't know who lived in that other village. And now it's like, it's so transparent. Most of the world today, you ain't really on that, what do you call it? Like that, defense, um, primitive, thing. Anyways, really, so I see a solution with all that bad that's in social media, and that's how the internet's changing. We are moving completely towards where it's like the first internet, where, MySpace was and stuff like that. And it's like, we're still going to have platforms to be connected, but it's going to be in healthier ways, and it's not going to be all centrally in one place. And maybe there are networks like this for certain reasons, but it's going to be opened up again a little bit. It's not all going to come back to Facebook. Like, we're going to move away from that, just like we moved away from MySpace. At some point it's going to die off naturally. Like, yeah, man. And I think Gary Vee was saying it years ago that, like, hop on Insta now, hop on this now, because it's all gonna.
Yeah.
Well,
It was Musically at the time before TikTok even got it. He was like, get on that Musically, get on that Musically.
he was well, because in that time it was like the best tool ever. Like, not much control. You can put everything in one place, and everybody's already at this one place. Knowing that there was going to come a time again where these platforms were going to change and become more vast, and most importantly, there's going to be a lot of control implemented on these networks and these platforms. They're going to start charging, or they're going to, and Facebook's already doing this. You got to pay a little to get on top of the feed. Now, it's like, so it can be kind of unfair. And I guess right now it's like corporate gets to buy out all the little guys, on every level of the aspect. And it's like, so how do we start making little guys again, small mom and pop shops and small companies and power to the people kind of thing, right? And so all all this is not in question. I see it as solution with kind of the content that we're bringing to the table tonight. The first step to solving a problem is knowing you got one, and so that's kind of, you got the list of problems, right? You in an organized, ordered fashion, okay, and then you start, what can we actually tackle now? What can be tackled in the future? What, overall do we want to see by the time I'm dead? What do I want to leave behind for stepping stones to continue on? And that's the best I can do. And at the same time, I'm trying to have my experience, and to be a politician, that would fucking suck. To waste my life in an office doing all this congressional bullshit in the clusterfuck spiderweb of change and oppression and control. Like, I don't see anything happening there. Now, making change directly from my hand, without money, it's practical. I do it every day, and people do it every day. And there's just so many things we can do to kind of move towards an easier way of living. Because why not? Because kind of where we're at, it's bullshit. It takes too much, and we all hate it. We all hate it. We lack ambition in our ability to get up and go to work every day. Now, today, I'm not suicidal, but I actually consider death to be one of the options to kind of get away from, to be a solution, almost like, man, how am I going to get out of this one? I could die. Like, that would be great right now, to not have to deal with this. And it's like,
that one's on my mind like a lot. Yeah. Yeah. I'm in that cycle sometimes.
And that to me, it sounds like, some common behavior that's going to come from that kind of circumstance, right? And so you can almost use what you just had as a tool. I could almost use it as a tool to, like you said, take accountability for my own happiness, and, I'm able to do that. Like I said, it's not like I was suicidal. I can move on with the day and everything, but it's just, if I got to resort to that, there's a problem. And that's what I was trying to point out.
Yeah. Now, for some people, they feel like they can't find happiness within themselves. And so they go, okay, if I'm accountable for my happiness, but there's nothing to be happy about, I'm screwed. Do you have any thoughts on how we can help those people?
Yeah, it's the little things.
So a lot of times people kind of feel like they give up. They don't think that there is any hope for happiness.
Or let's say, because I was just talking to someone like this. No matter what you say, it ain't good enough. It's like being bored. Once you're bored, you're just, no matter what you can think of at that point, you're gonna be bored. Because, what is there to do most of the day, especially with the Rona right now? Sit around, hang out, chill. And so content. You got to be kind of content with where you're at, and that's kind of like that. It's like you got to find content in life, and it goes in waves, right?
I like that. Instead of happiness, content is a little bit, because then it doesn't necessarily mean that all the good times you're always gonna have good times to be happy, but at those down times you can at least be content with it and be like, it sucks, but I can deal with it.
Content's allowed to be a feeling word. Like you can express feeling with content, but happiness is a feeling word. And so look at happiness as a feeling. And you wouldn't want to be happy all the time, man. Then it's like, I don't know, how I found happiness was from being unhappy and then carving out my happiness, taking accountability for it. Yeah, and I'm never truly happy, but I hate to identify as unhappy, so I'm happy, but then it's important to disclose to that person that's concerned, I'm also not happy, and here's why. It's like, so I'm content. Life is life. I'm happy to be talking to you right now. I'm grateful for this breath of air, for this experience, but I didn't ask for this, right? But then it's like, how do you become grateful for this? It's like maybe you're already here. Then just that alone, it's like there's got to be, that purpose within yourself. To be this, yeah, to be this conscious on these kinds of things, to be able to talk on it like this, that means there's something there. It's not just a thought. It's like something here, to be so concerned about our day, to be concerned about change, to feel feeling. I mean, if you just identify feeling and you're true with feeling and you take feeling, when you feel for somebody, in some kind of way that's authentic enough to know that there is value in this life, and so really the one thing that's allowed me to wake up in most of my days is knowing that there's someone else to help or someone else to just to connect with, almost like there's other people to wake up for, so rather than to be selfish and to be like, my life sucks, it doesn't mean other people's lives gotta suck or something.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Um, do they get stuck with, I guess, some fears with some, like, there's a lot of times, like, for one of the things that I liked with Gary Vee was he was like, you have to have the conversation with whoever's holding you back. So that way you can actually travel for the things that you love doing without having any kind of, like, resentment or having others like fully tear you apart from it. It's a little bit easier to kind of dive into those things, and a lot of people are restricted from even chasing some of those things because they fear like that might be the wrong choice perceived by their families or their loved ones, and so
Common Asian problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
I say like you gotta have that conversation with the other person. For me and my mom, when we talked, it was like no matter what I would say, it was always like completely wrong, I guess. In my mom's eyes, it's like it's not. It's like, oh, you're doing drugs, you're smoking marijuana, that's bad for you. And I'm like, but like it's helping me. Like there's good reasons as to why I'm doing some of these things, and some of them are not even good reasons. But some of them, it's like, look, I did this to at least get the experience and to understand what it is to go through these things. And so I understand that you might not agree with them. Um, but I am trying to at least experience life and then, learn lessons as I go. I know I've made mistakes along the way, and I'm going to continue making mistakes as I continue going forward. I feel like I'm a failure almost all the time, and I know that I'm going to continue to fail because the more times I fail, it's the more likelihood that I'm going to end up succeeding.
Yeah, success is sometimes like, and the noble way to judge success is not the amount of times you have succeeded, but the amount of times that you have failed at something. It's like, so if your list exceeds the amount of time you've succeeded, that's good. It means, you've been digging in it. So to me, it sounds like, one, you creating your own path, because doing it your way, not like the egotistical your way, but like, because this is my way, my life to live, like that's your right. You're owed that. Second, it kind of sounds like, the analogy like touching the stove. Your dad says, don't touch the stove, that's hot. What's hot? Ow, that's what hot is. Now you've experienced it, you get it. And so you guys were kind of talking earlier, or you brought it up, like there are people who have been through this. And so there are people who can give advice, who can tell you what not to do. But is that really enough? You know, is it wrong for someone to be like, I hear you, but I gotta go figure it out for myself? And to me, that's not a wrong thing. That's something I've done my whole life because where I'm at is I see it like question everything at this point because I'm in a world where there's a lot of lies, bro. A lot of fucking lies coming from my family, coming from my community, coming from my school, coming from my politicians, the government, the nutrition labels on the back of my food. It's like it's all lies. You got to question everything. You don't got to conspiracize. You don't have to be skeptical. You just got to be like, I don't know, man. Like I don't know, because like, and that's a mechanism for fact checking. You get what I'm saying? Like that's something to own. That's like, you know what? I get it, but this sounds more like propaganda. When y'all brought something up about Trump earlier or something, it just made me think. I had shut someone down like 30 times in 2 minutes today because everything they had to say about Trump was propaganda-based stuff. And it was like, it's not what I'm looking at. And it was all brought up like, you gonna vote for Trump this year? And I'm like, yeah. And it's like, fuck, if you really want to know.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they're like, oh yeah, well, but it's because Biden this. And I'm like, it doesn't really matter if Biden did that or not. It's like they're both clowns. And it just happens to be that I think that Trump's the better clown. The only reason I say that is because it would throw things off balance to replace the president. It's like, it seems like that first 4 years is where they're gaining traction. and then that last 4 years is where they get to do stuff. And so it would just be more efficient to let it ride, and because they're both clowns, it's like one's more traditional clown, Biden, and then one's really this like, oh, he's a clown, Trump, right? So yeah, it's like obviously there's a lot of people that want to go back to the traditional clown, and it's like earlier, it's like you were talking about people always want to blame on something. People always want to blame the president as if the president really does shit. I see it so arbitrary. This probably makes me look like a moron, to say this, but I kind of consider the presidency arbitrary to affecting me. And some people would be like, what? I kind of see my vote as being arbitrary, even though earlier you said each person matters, right? Each person who litters, that's a collective. But apparently our votes aren't even a collective anymore. It's all on the college vote or whatever, or the electoral college vote. True. Because anybody who like thinks they're an activist or thinks that they're like putting good input, they're also like putting a lot of political input and like talking about voting, and they're putting too much energy into that stuff. Yeah. Period, right? Punctuation. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Don't want to be. Don't want to be powerless, man.
Well, I think we got a really good cap on
Yeah.
kind of all the things we brought up.
The one thing though I did want to kind of like finish up on the thing was the talk about having that conversation with whoever. Um, me and my mom, uh, she like we'd have these disagreements all the time, and I would just be like, hey. So my mom and I would have these disagreements all the time, and me saying like, I have to figure out, tell her about the path that I want to go on. I'm gonna make the failures in life and stuff like that, right? Um, Even though like that's not something she wants to hear and stuff like that, you have to still, like you still have to find like some sort of common ground. So Eric was saying like, he's been doing that his whole life, but does it like sometimes does those conversations don't fully work out with the people that you're talking to because they don't want to hear you, and so you have to keep on figuring out how do I get it to a point where they can hear me at a common level. And that's part of the conversation that you have to have is it's not just like, hey, I'm going to go do this, but it's also trying to figure out how can you get that same eye of respect. So it's like for my mom and I, ours was I agree to disagree. So anytime we get like we don't like to hear what someone else has to say, it's pretty much I agree to disagree, and then we know that the other one has to pretty much shut up. Um, because if they don't, we know that it's going to escalate to something, and then it's just going to basically be a really, someone's going to be crying, and you don't want, and I don't want my mom to be crying over some dumb argument. So Yeah, that's the big part is like you gotta have that conversation in order to get that happiness. Whoever is blocking you from it, or maybe they're not even fully blocking it from you, but it's like you feel like you need to have that conversation with them. You just gotta do it. Most people are afraid to do that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, I think the phrase is like something like, uh, first they uh, first they laugh at you, then they ignore you, and then they want to be you or something like that.
And that was my experience in high school. Literally going as a freshman, I'm one of the few kids that smoke, whether it be cigarettes or weed. And then by the time I was a sophomore, it was pretty well understood that that was like something I got judged for, especially by my class and everything. And then come being a junior, I'm selling back, herb to these same kids that were judging me when I was a freshman. Because now they want to smoke, and it's like, oh, and they ain't even doing it the same way, dude. I'm using it as a tool medicinally to get to know myself, self awareness, just a vibe. At the end of the day, maybe to get a little high or something. But like, it's like, and then they're just out here, I'm fucked up, bro. Like, look at mine. It's like, nah, like, just I'm not about, it, I already, Jeezy. He's got that song "Been On," right? So it's like you just catching up to what I've been on. You probably heard of that, maybe. You know, yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, if anybody wants support, I said if anybody wants support, they can come to Productive Place. Oh yeah, yeah,
Oh, there's a little bit of pity, right? Like self pity in that, and I think that's so one of those very versatile things is uh, when we're talking pity, we're talking oh shit. Okay, so you're talking starving. I'm trying to think of a good example. Um, let's start with mental disorders. Okay, because this is the way it's applied in my life. So I grew up with parents who obviously had mental disorders, not like anything too crazy, like bipolar, schizophrenia, stuff like this, or grandparents, but yet they were so old fashioned that, well, me, looking at me, they're like, well, you're just a young kid, you haven't been through anything traumatic, how could you have these types of things, these thinking errors and stuff, not really having an understanding of how basic things like anxiety, depression, and just all these things can be, right? And so I definitely grew up.
having to just kind of deal with it and really learn techniques. And even if they were bad techniques, I still had to run with it, or like coping mechanisms, right? And well, the good part was, well, I didn't have to handicap those things. They weren't excuses, they weren't limitations, they were normal, actually. So even though I noticed that I felt different than most of my peers about certain things, like waking up, ambition to live, shit like this, it was still like, oh, fuck it. I bet you they think the same thing. They're just not being as expressive about it. Let's keep moving forward. And that's the important, and it's like, okay, I recognize that with some mental disorders, it's going to be, it goes in levels, it's good. There's the strong side where maybe it really is a chemical imbalance. Maybe it really, like, to its fullest degree, maybe something so traumatic happened that it is this impactful on your life forever, but then there's levels to it where it's like you're almost making the limitation. How many kids these days now have clinical depression and fucking some kind of anxiety, ADHD, this and that and the other, and it's like, really, ADD? I mean, you can't even like say ADD is a thing anymore. Everyone's just kind of a little hyper and talkative. Like, that's just normal human behavior. And then Kyle kind of brings it to my attention. This is where it's like extreme ADHD, right? When it's so hyper that those people know they can't even control it. It's like,
Yeah. So on the ADHD, that one's pretty easy to spot. Like if someone's faking it or not, you can tell based off of their just normal baseline energy. And so I've met a couple people. They just cannot stop moving. They cannot stop talking. So those people, like medicated or not, that's just how they are, pretty much.
and being that that's just how they are, I still consider it 100% normal human behavior.
Right.
And to like try to fix it or play like some kind of, control with medicine and stuff doesn't make sense, especially the type of medicine that's being used.
But about on the ADD part, though, that one is kind of manufactured. That one is at the young stages, it was easier to push things like Ritalin and stuff like that to the children to get them hooked onto it, so they became customers to the system. So ADD was misprescribed or misdiagnosed because they wanted to get more pharmaceutical cells.
Well, you mentioned Ritalin. Let's not forget that the most common medication for ADHD is methamphetamine.
Right, Adderall as well.
Which is a drug that actually makes you really hyper. How is that? I heard, gasoline on fire to fix fire, but like...
For someone who is in a true ADD or true ADHD, it does the opposite. It actually kind of mellows them out.
Well, I don't know. Let's just look at anxiety. So anxiety, it's the Xanax, right? And I don't know. I feel like Xanax has given me some of the worst anxiety ever. Just taking it personally. So it's like, how can that?
Well, because were you prescribed it?
No.
See.
But like, come on. Like, if all a doctor's got to do is go, huh? All right, well, this is what you're gonna take, and I may as well have been prescribed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I know. And that thing alone is what I found really good as a tool in like cannabis, right? And since we were talking about kind of the will to live thing today, it's kind of like that's where I've found it beneficial, is because like there's this one experience I had where it was like I couldn't feel much. Like sometimes it's kind of silly to think like you can't feel. Literally couldn't feel. Like, yeah, you pinch me, I feel, right? But like I didn't feel anything that day. And like I remember it had just rained and it was a colder night and I laid in a puddle and I didn't feel. You know what I mean? And all of this was I hadn't smoked for like 6 months at this point. And I had went inside and I went and found just kind of enough to put a one hitter together and I took that one hit. The leaf changed, immediately. Like for 1 minute you didn't care if you died, and then the next it was like so immediate that the first thing that was in front of me I was interested in engaging with it. You know what I mean? Like whatever was lying around, immediately it was like I was in a black and white world 1 second, and then when you took that hit, it was like the color kind of came back into everything, and how could you go wrong with something that does that? But you bring up something like Xanax, right? Like I feel like Xanax did that, but it did it on a really, really big level for me at some point, and then you come off of that and you want it. I don't feel that with cannabis. With things like Adderall or meth or Coke, or you might feel that way. You might be like, yeah, this makes me feel good. It's these like short-term satisfactions. The cannabis isn't a short-term satisfaction to me. It's a coping mechanism or a tool to kind of create habits and stuff, and you know what I mean. And when it comes to addiction, it really isn't one of those addictive things. You don't get like physical withdrawals. You kind of get like bitch withdrawals. You'd be a little bitch about it, like, oh, I really want to smoke. Like. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta go into the belly of that beast.
Does he do the resilience talk on TEDx? Because I just watched that when I had that experience I told you about. I fell and broke something, hurt some things. I had to go watch that video, and like, I'm on YouTube, like being a millennial as fuck, like on Google, like how to get through pain, like because you almost sometimes we lose touch of ourselves. We're so in these, it's like, huh, you gotta look that up. But really, my intentions were I wanted to get a perspective because I feel like that's one of those things that are most challenging in my life is getting through pain. I think that's, if there's one more thing to say that I've ever felt like, damn, I I would rather die than live through this, is when you really hurt yourself on your body. Or like I've had a disc slip. That was one of the most painful things I've ever been through. And you're just like, I would not want to live the rest of my life in this kind of like condition and this pain. So you kind of like resort to thinking like, damn, like I'd rather be, so it's like working on that, how to be able to get through pain. And the resilience aspect came from like metals, they have to be like beaten down and like bent, but then once all that happens, they become stronger, like hardened metal, it becomes more resilient. And the body kind of tends to do that. You break your finger, and if it heals back correctly, it's actually going to be stronger than ever, because it healed back in layers and stuff, right? And real, I'm sorry. Real quick, I wanted to touch on, because you said a lot of it. You said overall they're talking about substances, consuming substances, specifically drugs, and you were like, a lot of it seems like an escape from the moment. But so many times have I seen it as a tool to be concentrated in the moment. especially like psychedelics and weed, and then maybe even like some of those real unhealthy ones like Xanax or something. But like, truthfully, it's whatever you need, whatever you're lacking then. So to me, it's like if you're overthinking and there's too many thoughts running through your head, smoke a joint, relax. Let's say you're in a point where you're just dead in thought, smoke a joint, get some inspiration, you start getting in that creative mode. It literally kind of brings in that opposite for me. Tools, and if used in moderation, you know, not condoning or recommending, the use of any substances, but it's like, fucking, it's what I do. That's right,
Heck
bro.
yeah.
That's true. True. I guess what I tell the younger guys is like, if you're gonna do anything, smoke a joint, um, do shrooms a couple times in your life, and if you ever run across it, one time, DMT or ayahuasca, right? And then it's like a couple beers, stay away from the hard alcohol, stay away from getting drunk, just a couple beers if you're gonna do the drinking thing, because drinking sucks, man. Cigarettes suck, bro.
Yeah. That's usually why you go after something like Gary Vee says, just go after something you love because that way it's like, one, you like it, two, it's not that hard, and then three, you'll escape into it and then eventually it'll take off. Like, yeah, it's a good thing, like just turning whatever you love, that being your escapism mechanism, but then you can build upon it and it'll help you in the long run. Yeah.
Short term. A lot of that short term stuff, like substances. And dopamine is considered the negative, almost. Like, it's a signal that tells your brain you need to get happy. You know? And then serotonin is more of the actual, right, which is usually long term. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously though, and then it's like, well, just like mental disorders, we're talking a lack of um, so it's kind of funny, right? So like the mental disorder, it's they consider it a lack of creating that chemical, and then when you break it down like that, it's like okay, so that actually makes sense. Like, well, you're just not creating that. You know, the circumstances, the elements aren't in my life to allow this to happen. You know, and uh, in that way, it sounds like a science. But I bet you that's like 1% of what it all really is, and we really have like a 3% understanding of the overall process, and then there's 97% openness, this magic in life. And, you know, sometimes that's where I also find the purpose, or like a will to live. It's like there's a lot of this magic and this quantum to life, where it's like both possibilities are always open and present. And, and that's how you have value in things you get to say. You know, we don't know each other very well. This is one of those, this is the second time you and I have gotten on a conversation, right? But I get to put value in everything you say because I know that from your perspective, it's authentic. You know, from your perspective, it may not be 100% to mine, but it's yours. And then that's quantum because that means both possibilities are present. If your ideas could be manifested, then that's what it is, you know. And it's like that makes everything you have to say to be credible. That's why there is no right or wrong. You know, that's why we should always compromise in conversation because most of the time our argument, we was talking about the same thing and in agreement, but didn't even realize that we weren't. You know, and it's like that's just kind of like how it usually goes with conversation across the board for anybody. You know, and fuck, you might just have a different word for looking at it, this concept or like whatever. And that's why it's important to do what we're doing together, the three of us. It's important that others do the same right now. Just get together and talk this shit out, you know, and just everything on the board and get a collective. And, you know, not everybody's going to start a whole YouTube channel and a website and this and that or whatever, but it's like, do find a platform, do find a network of people, find a friend or your family to talk about it with. You know, if you're good at public speaking, you know, then maybe you can chase something that's more to the masses. If you're good at one-on-ones, stick to that. You know, talk one-on-one with people. That's more noble. That's how I feel about it sometimes. You know, it's like you really connect with people on these one-on-ones kind of things. And when you understand someone's perspective, you know, that's where things align. You know, it's like there's not too much confusion on the water running downstream. You get what I'm saying? There's not too much confusion on eating, shitting, and sleeping. The confusion comes from all these motherfuckers in the world trying to implement control of my life. All this confusion in general from other individuals being confused. And it's like, okay, well, with this opportunity, what we have, these tools in front of us right now, what we're talking through, the networks, everything that's happening, we get to use it, cultivate, and kind of make the world we want, you know? Which is general, positive, or like authentic influence, right? We're not selling anything, you know, that's the, right? Yeah.
Yo. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the goal, is just to document. Document everything.
You think we're at a point to cap it up a little bit? Like, maybe just,
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause I think we've talked about a lot of productivity too, you know, so.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we'll figure that one out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot with that, I think there's just like one thing I want to get across, and it's like, you know, we're talking about living and living and living and living, right? But like, sometimes you do got to keep in mind, and it's kind of weird for sometimes for a young guy like me. Usually it was from like older guys sometimes, but it's like, you know, I mean, like I'm gonna be honest, like you can die tomorrow, you know, like today could have been your last day, or you know, you may have 10 years in your timeline. You know, not to overthink it, but it's like, you know, take the most out of every day, you know, right? Like try to have a life fulfilling experience within every moment, every day, every week kind of thing. That way it's like, you know, no matter what happens, it's like sometimes I look at it like it's not about how much time you have, but it's what you make of the time that you have, you know, because a lot of times I'm always thinking about how I could buy time from my grandma or my mom, you know, because they're kind of in bad health, and it's like, but really I should just be making the best of the time that we're in. And a lot of my perspective on things just like surgery or, um, you know, some crazy radical processes like chemo to get through cancer and stuff. It's like, why try to buy this time, you know, when you could have just made the best of the time you're in, you know? And like you see that some people are like, I'm not gonna do chemo. I'm just gonna go home and spend the last few whatever with my family and die at home kind of thing, you know? So a lot of time when I bring up the short term, the midterm, and the long term, it's like the long term is supposed to be real open and not so overthought because you may never even make it there, you know, and you really will, you won't, you know, and that's, it's supposed to be kind of set up like that, right? You know, as long as you're making the best of that moment, every moment, you know, or like just being in it, you know, you hear people say, be in the moment, man, right? And it's like, it's more than just being in the moment, you know, it's really being there, and it really revolves around being content, probably that word we brought up earlier. And
Yeah.
so basically, what we're all trying to say with this whole video tonight, almost, and what you just said there, is kind of like well, it kind of slipped off my tongue. Uh, Damn. Say that last part again, will you? Yeah. Damn. It's alright. That happens, right?
Yeah.
I had something to kind of like summarize that up, but it is what it is, right?
That's all good.
Right? Damn, that sucks when that happens, man. I don't know.
We got Fiddle. You said that one. You said that one like at least like 6 or 7 times during the conversation. I was like mentally keeping track. I'm like, oh, he really wants to talk about this one. All right. Until next time. Thank. Heck yeah. Thank you everybody for watching. Peace.